All right, buddy, we're live. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, I have something extra, 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 and I do mean extra special for you tonight. Tonight, our special guest is Jonathan Traylor, kidney transplant patient, kidney advocate, and broadcaster, podcaster extraordinaire. So, John has an extra special kidney story to share with us tonight. As a 41-year-old type 2 diabetic with hypertension, John initially neglected his health and visiting his doctor for years. Unfortunately, they never discussed with him the connection between kidney disease and diabetes or kidney disease and high blood pressure. This all changed on July 8th, 2019, when John was taken to his local hospital in Kerrville, Texas, and subsequently helicoptered to Methodist Hospital in San Antonio with symptoms of heart palpitations, difficulty breathing, passing out, vomiting, and in addition to a diagnosis of end-stage renal disease, his blood potassium was at a 9, nearly twice the recommended range. Near death, Jonathan was in the hospital for 3 weeks, some of it in a coma. He was put on dialysis while he was out of it. Exemplary, and I do mean exemplary, changes were made after that. He was on a renal diet, an exercise program, and attended dialysis, both in-center hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis at home on a regular basis. Because of his dedicated compliance, he received a kidney transplant on August 11th, 2020. He has taken his gift, and due to his faith, he has shared his experiences with others and advocates for all of us kidney patients in various kidney groups. He is a prolific master broadcaster and podcaster, educating others about numerous kidney issues on almost every social media platform that you can think of. One of his favorite kidney communities is Kidney Solutions, and we'll talk about his relationship with Kidney Solutions and Kent Bressler, a group that helps people from all over find kidney donors for free. He is also an incredible web designer and graphic developer. Some of the placards that you see on this broadcast are Jonathan Traylor originals. If you want to know more about John, check out the comments. I tried to run down everything I could about him, but there's so much online. I'm sure I missed things, but check out the comments if you're interested in, where John broadcasts and his podcasts and how you can access all that stuff. Check out his Facebook stuff. Check out his YouTube stuff. Check out his TikTok stuff. John is all over the place, man, and doing a great job. Please give a warm welcome to our good friend, Jonathan Traylor. John, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm waiting for the guy that you're talking about to come in the door.
Well, he's here, my friend. He said, I should have mentioned, John is incredibly modest, too.
I appreciate the introduction and the warm welcome, Uncle Jim. And it's an honor to be on your show. You you've always been a special advocate. I believe your show actually is one of the first shows that I ever did back in 2019 when I needed a kidney. And so you were gracious enough to let me come on at that time and share my kidney story and my journey. And always have a lot of respect for you, Uncle Jim.
Well, thank you, buddy. Much appreciated. Be sure you check out Hope with Jonathan. He's all over the place. Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
Yes, you did. Everything that you mentioned, I still have a lot of memory of, and all of that stuff is completely true and accurate. Yes, sir.
Okay. Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education history, your employment history. What are you up to now?
So I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. If you're from Louisville, it's Louisville. If you're not, it's Louisville. But if you're from Louisville, it's Louisville. I was born and raised there most of my life. And then my family started to kind of migrate to Texas. Grandparents retired in Texas and started traveling to Texas. So, and visiting the hill country of Texas, San Antonio area. Ended up moving down here, long story short. So that's where I reside now, is in the San Antonio area of Texas. Right now, currently, I am just a high school graduate, but I am enrolling in some courses, and I've done some courses that have given me like certifications and things like that in the area that I've worked in over the years, which has been in computer repair and IT type of computer work. Those are the type of things. A lot of contract type of work for various companies. So that's pretty much me. I am married with two children. They're 20 and 18. My son Jet, who's Jonathan the second, he's 20 or will be 20 in August. And my daughter Mackenzie, she's 18. And my best friend, my beautiful wife Melissa, we've been together for 21 years.
Wow. Congratulations. Hello to all your family, John.
I appreciate that, Uncle Jim.
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about what your life was like before kidney disease. How would you characterize how you took care of your health, etc.?
Well, I didn't, Uncle Jim. I was living life kind of in the fast lane, did whatever I wanted, ate whatever I wanted without any mindful regard or no healthy regimen, no diet plan, no exercise routine, nothing that was healthy for me. I had ballooned out to around 350 pounds was my peak, which I was considered to be obese at that time. I am a large frame guy. I'm around 6 foot with about a 56 wingspan. So I'm always been kind of a big, wide guy, kind of like your football player build, but and with a healthy appetite. But I had really grossly become very obese, and without any care or regard for it. I just thought I was going to be okay. I was big and strong, able to do whatever I wanted, and then that lifestyle ultimately led me flat on my back in the hospital, and we'll get into that later.
Okay. My notes tell me that you were 41 years of age at the time that you began to have issues with kidney disease, that you had been previously diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and hypertension. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned in the introduction, your physicians had not discussed with you the connection between kidney disease and diabetes, or kidney disease and high blood pressure. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on with your health when you were diagnosed with diabetes and high blood pressure?
So I was probably diagnosed with diabetes around the age of around 28 years old. I had an episode where I felt like I couldn't breathe very well, and ended up landing me right in the hospital. And I think around that time, my sugar was around 380 or 400. And they came in and told me, they said, yeah, you got diabetes. I mean, you're diabetic. and how long have you been like this? And I said, you just told me. I'm just finding this out. And then they went ahead and told me that my blood pressure had reached this really high limit. I don't know, I don't recall the number at that time, but they also diagnosed me at that point that I was hypertensive. I truly believe, Uncle Jim, looking back on some history, I think I was diabetic for a lot longer than before I became diagnosed, but I didn't actually become officially diagnosed until around the age of 28.
Okay. Let's talk about, you have mentioned that you've been somewhat, or were at that time, somewhat neglectful in taking care of yourself and seeing doctors. Talk about the anxiety that you refer to as white coat syndrome. What was that all about, John?
I just had a natural fear of doctors. You mentioned the word doctor, I'd freak out. I mean, here I am, this big guy, uh, and I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to going to see the doctor. I mean, I just did not want to go. I didn't like to go. Someone mentioned doctor to me, and I'd say, nah, I don't need to go. I don't want to mess with it, and I would just push off things. Also, I had taken a lot of jobs over the time of my career that were contractual or temp jobs, if you will, that did not offer insurance and things like this. And a lot of times for me in my position was either I was going to pay, we were going to pay electric bill or rent or food in the house or go to the doctor. And a lot of times electric, food, and water and rent superseded um, going to the doctor. Looking back on that, I don't know if that was the best decision, but at the time, that was the best decision for me, was to go ahead and pay the bills instead of going to the doctor. But again, I did some contractual work jobs that did not offer benefits, things like that. So I kind of would fall through the cracks sometimes with different, where I would end up with insurance maybe temporarily and then go see a doctor and then take on another job that didn't offer benefit and I couldn't afford to go. And so I would lose track with my health care. And you can see how that would easily, just snowball and with the domino effect. And this carried on through probably, my late 20s, early 30s, late 30s until I ended up in kidney failure.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about July 8th, 2019. It's my understanding that you were feeling pretty sick that day. You were having trouble breathing. You were having heart palpitations. You had a rash on your tongue. You were falling down. You were vomiting in bed for days. What
Mhm.
did you think at the time was going on?
I really didn't know. The tongue rash thing started days before I was in bed. Like the tongue rash thing was probably about a week before things got really bad. And my wife noticed it. I noticed it when I was like brushing my teeth, and I would look in the mirror and I would see this like bumps all over my tongue, and they were white. I can't really explain it. It almost like maybe like a yeast infection or something like that on my tongue. I know that sounds strange, but anyway, it was all over my tongue. Now that looking back on that, I believe that was toxins coming out of my tongue because my kidneys weren't functioning properly. But um, ultimately, Uncle Jim, I thought I was fighting the flu. I just couldn't keep anything down. I had no strength. I just kept wanting to sleep with chronic fatigue. And, um, you know, my wife was like, you really need to get out of bed. You really do. After about the third day, she was just begging me to go to the hospital, literally. And I was being the same old Jonathan, just stubborn and didn't want to hear it. I'll be okay. I've got the flu. I've got the flu. And eventually, Uncle Jim, I got out of bed and just literally fell on the floor with no strength at all, none at all. Um, attempted to urinate, could not urinate, and the symptoms from there just they progressed rapidly. My heart was palpitating, much almost like I had ran a marathon. And then I had some like skip beats in there where it was just almost like a horse galloping in my chest, literally. That's the only way I can really explain it. And I was breathing so heavy, like I said, like as if I had just taking off running. And it was a quite traumatic experience. It really was. And by the time I had gotten to the emergency room, I mean, I really, Uncle Jim, I just had minutes. I was suffering. I couldn't breathe. I kept begging for something to drink. I felt like I needed to drink something. I don't know. It was the strangest thing, but these are just memories that are coming back in my mind as I'm speaking to you. But it was a very traumatic event. And again, I thought I was fighting the flu. I mean, for days I was just in bed, nauseated, chronic fatigue. I just didn't want to get out of bed, literally. So
I understand that 911 was called back on July 9, and they took you to the emergency room. What hospital was that, John?
that was in a local hospital here, Peterson, Sid Peterson, here in Kerrville, Texas. It's a great hospital. Unfortunately, at the time, they did not have a dialysis machine. So when they had ran the blood work, they come back, they crashed in there, and they were like, "How long have your kidneys been failed?" And again, I'm like, "You just told me, you just told me." And they're like, "Well, we got to get you to San Antonio to get emergency dialysis." And so they put me in the helicopter and flighted me. Uncle Jim, I'd never been in a helicopter in my whole life. So I don't know if that's the way you want to do that, but that's the way I did it. And it's about an hour drive to San Antonio, depending upon how fast you want to drive from where I live. But by helicopter, I got there in like 20 minutes. And once I landed there, I got there, and it really unfolded. Things really unfolded quickly from there. And I don't want to interrupt any of your questions, because you may have questions on these type of events that I'm kind of rolling out to you. But it was a very traumatic day in my life.
Okay. Talk about the things that you overheard after you arrived by helicopter at Methodist Hospital in San Antonio.
I just remember I'm gonna call it the stretcher or gurney, whatever they bring you in on from the helicopter, and I hit the doors, boom, and I just overheard the emergency room physician. I kind of looked up at him. I was still kind of disoriented, breathing heavy. My heart was still palpitating. All this stuff was still going on. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and he looks at the chart, and he tells him immediately. He's like, and I could hear him say, "You better grab the crash cart." And after that, I blacked out, Uncle Jim. After that, I was totally blacked out. And I just remember coming to in an ICU, in a room, hooked to a dialysis machine, and family all around me and all that. But that's what I overheard was, "You better grab that crash cart." And within seconds, all I seen was black. That was it.
Okay. As I understand it, you were kind of in a coma, out of commission for about 3 days. Is that correct?
Yeah. So a lot of these memories that I'm telling you are because I don't remember them. I had been on a machine for 3 days. So when I came to, I'd already been on the dialysis machine for 3 days, and they had taken off like something like 30 pounds of fluid, literally, which is a lot of fluid. Looking back on that, I have pictures and stuff before I went into July 8th, and I could really tell that my body was just massively swollen with fluid. So I could see where the 30 pounds of fluid came from. I had been exercising, believe it or not, Uncle Jim. I'd been exercising for like probably 6 months or so, and I had plateaued and just hadn't lost any weight, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't losing any weight, and kept retaining fluid and things like that. And so I knew something maybe was going on, but I just kept ignoring it. And so, if anything from this interview tonight, please, I beg you, listen to my story and don't ignore any symptoms at all, please.
Okay. I understand that when you became aware of what was going on, that you noticed all kinds of tubes and hoses and lines, and obviously you had a catheter in your neck. What were your observations?
Looking back on that, Uncle Jim, it was very scary because I was intubated and I wanted to start speaking to people and I couldn't. So waking up with a intubation, a hose, a tube down your throat is quite traumatic, especially when you're not sure where you're even at or what's happened to you and you don't recall anything. So it was really traumatic. And then they had my hands tied to the bed as well because obviously I must have been trying to pull the hoses and tubes out. Uh, but my mother is my sister's hearing impaired. Okay,
Yeah.
so I knew some sign language and stuff, and that was my first go to try to communicate that, hey, I'm trying to come around here and I'm trying to talk and I can't because I got this tube, you know. But it was really traumatic, Uncle Jim. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a scary ordeal. I mean, I just couldn't talk, and looking around the room, I really didn't know what to think. The dialysis machine that was next to me was a large dialysis machine. It wasn't your typical in-center dialysis machine or like a smaller dialysis machine. This was a really giant-sized dialysis machine that they were pulling fluid off of me for longer periods of time than the standard dialysis machines.
Okay. John, at my request, you sent me a photograph. Was it okay if I show the folks that picture, or would you rather I didn't?
Oh, please, you can show it, no problem.
Okay. Hang on, everybody. John and I are going to disappear for a brief second.
Yep.
That photograph. That's you, right?
Yep, that's me. Yes, sir. That that photo is really it brings back a lot of memories, and it's easier now for me to look at. A couple of years ago, it was really tough to look at. But now, just seeing everything that I've overcome and how far that I've came since then is incredible. It's just really nothing short of a miracle, literally. I mean, to come that close to death and still be here is just I'm very grateful. I'm blessed to be here.
Okay. Would it be fair for me to say then that you were lucky to survive the incident?
Absolutely, absolutely. The nephrologists that came in and talked with me, they were actually shocked that I made it because they had talked about my levels of my blood work that, my potassium had reached a score of 9 and which is, really high. And, they just don't see patients bounce back from this. Normally, these type of near-death experience, especially with a potassium of 9 and all this stuff. I mean, my creatinine was like 25. Uh, yeah,
Brutal.
they say we just don't see this, but here I am, and I'm a person of faith, so I believe that God just wasn't done with me yet, and there was a plan and a purpose for me, and that's why
Well,
I'm still here.
okay. Just so people understand, a normal range for potassium is between 3.5 and 5 milliliters per liter. Your normal creatinine range, at least now that I've been transplanted, it's around 1.2, something like that. I'm sure John's is not 29 anymore, for example. You just had blood work done today. How did it go?
Yeah, everything's what it should be, and everything's looking really good. I feel great. So the labs are just showing the way I feel. So everything looked really good and solid. and really happy about that because I don't know about you, but even at I'm going on 2 years post, and I still get a little anxious every now every now and again when I go in and do the blood work because you just you remember dialysis and you remember kidney failure and nobody in their right mind wants to go through that again, but it does happen, but you always hope for the best, but you don't ever know. And there's that voice in the back of your head that says, maybe you shouldn't have ate that, or you remember that day you didn't exercise, or so you start start thinking about things, uh, but yeah, everything looked good, and so I'm really grateful. I'm really blessed, Uncle Jim.
Okay. I understand that you were in the ICU for 3 days and then you were transferred to a regular room for a 2 week period. Tell us about what went on during that 2 weeks.
Uh, well, I had no education on kidney disease. I didn't even know what dialysis was. Okay, so a lot of medical terminology coming at me like a like a Mack truck, because I tell people I was literally hit like a Mack truck by kidney disease. So they started really educating me within those 2 weeks, and of course then I was going to dialysis every other day in the hospital because they wanted to get me started on a routine of that, kind of like if I was at home going in center. So they were like, we got to put you in the dialysis and get you in that routine of going. So that's what they were doing, and then they were educating me and talking to me about the renal diet, which was kind of a enlightenment to me. And they started talking about things that you can have and you can't have anymore, and just different things. And I remember when they started talking to me about cheese and potatoes and all these things that they say is a no-no, and a lot of different things. And I just recall saying, if I can't have those things, just go ahead and take me out back and take care of me. But no, seriously, it was like a crash course of kidney disease education for me. I had to adapt to it quickly, Uncle Jim, because I felt like if I wanted to survive this, I was going to have to really focus and buy into it. If I wanted to be eventually transplanted, because they did mention, if you get well and you start doing your dialysis treatment, you can work toward, getting a kidney transplant and things like that. But you gotta become compliant to this, and you gotta really follow this renal diet and really manage your health a lot better than what you've been doing. And you're talking about a guy that was a pizza cheeseburger guy like every day, you know. And so you can only imagine. I really had to think about some things, Uncle Jim. Number one, what put me here? And it would have been easy for me to start pointing a finger at different people or different scenarios, but honestly, Uncle Jim, I had to point a finger at myself because I was the one doing all this to myself. I wasn't managing my health right; it was managing me, and look where it got me, literally. And it was such a traumatic event in such a short amount of time. But yeah, those 2 weeks were a crash course in kidney disease education.
Okay. And you mentioned to us a little bit about your mental process about making changes in your life. There were some big changes that you decided to make. Can you discuss that with us a little bit?
Well, number one, I gave up. I gave up all those bad foods. I wouldn't even look at fast food anymore. Uh, when I got released from the hospital, we went to the grocery store, me and my wife, and we spent about 2 hours in the grocery store looking at labels. And I realized most of the foods that I was eating were heading me toward death. And so I had to make some complete changes. And I realized that it was a mindset. I had to change my mindset about my health and managing my health and the diet that I was on. And I realized that although I was walking, I needed to increase what I was doing and do a little bit more exercise routine and incorporate that a lot more into my lifestyle as well. And I wanted to do this because I wanted to survive this, but also I had a family, you know, and I wanted to be there for my wife and my children. And so that was enough motivation for me to say, hey, if I want to be there for my children, I've got to make these life changes with my diet and exercise. And you know what? My wife and my children were right there behind me. They knew my diet was special. They knew that Dad couldn't have certain items, and my children and my wife helped me stay on the course. They were a great support for me. And I remember one time my daughter seen me reach, and I'm not afraid to share this with you. They had a bag of Doritos in the house, and we've all. I mean, I'm a child of the '80s. I grew up in, I was born in the '70s, grew up in the '80s, and I don't know too many kids that didn't grow up in the '80s have never tried some Doritos. But I love Doritos, so I went for the Doritos, and my daughter seen me, and she said, "Dad, you can't have those." And I said, I know, I know. She says, "I'm going to call your nephrologist." And I said, okay. And I put them away, and I did not eat those ever again. The whole time I was on dialysis, literally. And that was the kind of support that I had. My kids were like, "Dad, you gotta stay on the course. You got to stay on this so that we can get you eventually, hope and pray that, eventually you'll get that transplant." And so I had a great support system, Uncle Jim. In no way, shape, or form could I sit here and say, "Hey, I did this all by myself." There's no way I could do it. I had a great support team.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I understand that you started doing hemodialysis in center 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where you were doing that?
Yeah, at the local DaVita here. They had got me in the chair time of the TTS, which is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So I actually, a lot of people have different experience with their dialysis centers. Some are positive, some are negative. My local DaVita here was an excellent staff. I had some great charge nurses in there, and I had some great technicians that were in there. Some of them I will never forget, no matter how long I live, because they treated me so well in there, and took great care of me in there. Some of them in there were new, so maybe they weren't as experienced. I did experience some things in center that, like, where they would infiltrate me and things like that with my fistula. But it happens. It happens. But I had a great DaVita, and I can't really say anything bad about my center at all.
Okay. I understand during that period of time you also had fistula surgery.
Yeah, when I came in, I had the standard central line. They had converted my IJ in the neck to the permacath, and then they started talking to me as soon as I came in center. They said, "Hey, we don't want to see you get a blood infection, and these things can be dangerous. You can't get it wet, and all this type of stuff." And be honest with you, I was quite intimidated by that. And of course, uh, I went and spoke to the vascular surgeon, and when I told him my story, he literally told me, he said, "Sir, you did everything backwards. You were supposed to be going to a nephrologist and having a plan of action where you could have chose a modality like peritoneal or hemodialysis. You could have had an option, but unfortunately, because I was an emergency case, that modality was chosen for me, because you have to have the line immediately." And so there was not much time for me to really get adjusted to that central line. They were trying to get me to get the fistula like right away. So I had that surgery probably about 3 months after I was in center, maybe 2.5. So I went in and had that fistula surgery pretty quickly. It matured in about 6 weeks. Well, they thought it was mature, but they let me start with the smaller gauge needles about 6 weeks later with my fistula, and my fistula is here in my left wrist here. So this is
Okay.
this is where they decided to put the fistula.
Okay. Talk to us about your decision to start doing a home hemodialysis on next stage, and the help you got from Melissa, your wife.
So what happened was, as a guy that's interested in technology and how things work and things like that, after I started feeling better, because I did start feeling better doing in-center treatments. The toxins were getting taken out of expelled from my body, and I was starting to get my dry weight right and following the renal diet. I started feeling decent in-center treatment, but they were really wiping me out. Like I would come home and just crash and just be really groggy. And so I started asking a lot of questions, Uncle Jim, about how these machines worked, and what this did, and what kind of operating system did the machines run on, and how do you do this and do that. My team, or the staff at DaVita, the nurses and the technicians, they would actually take the time to talk to me and explain to me what the dialyzer was, and the different settings, and why they turn your temperature up and down to kind of tweak your blood pressure and stuff like that, and all these different tricks and tips. And I think I was getting to a point where I was kind of telling them how to run me on the machine. um, and it wasn't because I was thinking that I was a know-it-all. It's just I knew my body and I knew how I felt, and I would tell them, I'd say, hey, you gotta turn me down, or tweak that temperature a little bit. My blood pressure, I feel it. I'm fixing the tank. I can feel it. And eventually they just came to me and said, Mr. Traylor, we really think you'd be a great candidate for home dialysis. You're literally running yourself in here on the machine. So you could probably do this at home. Would you like to do this at home? And I was like, sure. And so, I watched some YouTube videos with my wife, and they had brought me a pamphlet, and I had taken the pamphlet home and kind of looked it over and talked with my wife. And my wife Melissa, who's amazing. She's my best friend. Like I said, we've been married 21 years. I came home and she was just like, you know what? I think I can do it. I think I can help you. And I'm not saying, there are lots of people out there that are home dialysis. They do it all by themselves. But my local DaVita, they said, no, you have to have someone to help you. And so they were like, we won't let you do it without a care partner. So I said, okay, fine. Let me ask my wife. And my wife was gracious enough to go in and learn it. And so we started that about a month later. And mind you, my wife had no experience ever with any needle sticking or anything. And 3 days later, my wife was sticking me for hemodialysis in this center, in home hemodialysis training. The nurses were right there. They felt like if she was going to do this, they wanted her to get her hands dirty quickly and just roll her sleeves up and jump right in there. And Melissa, she learned it very quickly, and we graduated that program in like 3 weeks. And home hemo, I will tell you, if I would have had the opportunity to choose a modality, and I ever had to do dialysis again, I 100% would choose doing home hemodialysis.
Okay. I understand that you were on home hemodialysis for a period of 3 months. Can you talk to us about your results compared to when you were in center?
Oh, the results were like night and day. I went from feeling, okay with in-center dialysis to feeling pretty incredible. I started exercising more and riding my bike, and I was getting a treatment 5 days a week. As you know, a working kidney is working 24/7. So the more treatments when your kidneys don't work, or can't expel fluid and get rid of waste, the better. So I was getting 5 treatments a week. So naturally, my body, was the toxins were being taken out of my body, almost every day. And if I wanted to, I could do a treatment every day if I wanted to. But my prescription was for 5 days a week. So my labs looked incredible. My nephrologist there in DeVita was telling me, I wouldn't even know you're a kidney patient. Like, your labs are just look incredible. I was actually able to, curb a little bit on the renal diet, not much, but I could maybe look at a slice of pizza every now and then or something, but I could look at it. But literally, I felt incredible, Uncle Jim, and it gave me liberty because I felt like, I felt locked in to that treatment Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and I kind of felt like that my weekends had been taken away from me, like because every Saturday was dialysis and in center. We couldn't do anything as a family, or because I was going to come home and just sleep and things like that. But once I got on home hemo, I could do dialysis anytime I wanted. So I planned it Monday through Friday, almost like a normal, working job schedule. And I took the weekends off, Saturday and Sunday, and it worked for me. And my lab, like I said, I felt incredible from it. And I really think if people out there are on the fence about doing, like home dialysis, or they're interested, if you can do it, it's not for everyone, but if you can manage it and you can do it, I would highly recommend it. Definitely recommend it.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about the things you did to try and get a kidney transplant. What kind of steps did you take to try and get that kidney?
Well, I know you want to eventually talk about kidney solutions,
Absolutely.
but kidney solutions played a big part in my advocacy. But I did a lot of things, Uncle Jim. I mean, I started a website. I built a website for my kidney search. Uh, I started a Facebook page, which was Hope for Jonathan, um, which eventually became my podcast, which is Hope with Jonathan. But I did a lot of things. I had a sticker made and put that on the back of my car. Um, it was on the windshield, or the back windshield. I hung out flyers in my local community. I put them on. I went to like laundromats, and I went to local restaurants and hardware stores and places that would frequent a lot of people, but didn't mind me putting those posters up. And I had hits on those posters. I really did. People called Kent, and Kent is the driving force behind the poster, because I probably may not have thought of that myself, but Kent was like, "Hey, you really need to get in the community and hang up these flyers. I'm going to send them to you." And so that was the real big driving force of getting out in the local community and hanging the flyers. And I was really surprised at how many people that were gracious enough to say yes and let me hang that flyer in their restaurant. I had one restaurant in particular that put my flyer right by the cash register. So every time someone paid their meal, they seen my flyer, and that was huge. That was just huge for me. Someone needing a kidney, and they had that right there at the cash register, where everybody that come through there and paid would see that flyer. So, if you're looking for a kidney, I would really suggest getting into your community and hanging those flyers. But that's not where my kidney came from. Social media played a huge part in how I ended up with getting my kidney transplant.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit. You mentioned Kent. You're referring to Kent Bressler, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about your relationship with Kent Bressler and Kidney Solutions.
Well, I mean, we couldn't talk about Kidney Solutions without talking about Kent Bressler. I mean, what can you say about Kent Bressler? Kent is a super advocate, mentor, kidney transplant recipient himself, who has the biggest heart. It's the biggest heart of size of Texas and bigger. I mean, he's an amazing individual, very loving individual that cares about kidney patients. And I owe a lot to Kent and Kidney Solutions because of the way that Kent advocated for me and helped me. And believe it or not, just long story short, my wife was having gallbladder surgery around the time that I went into dialysis, and eventually I'd gotten on the kidney transplant list. I think it was around December of 2019, and my wife had a friend that was working in the hospital, and she had Kidney Solutions business card with Kent's name and number on it. She handed my wife that card while she was being prepped for surgery, and she gave me that card. My wife handed me the card, and she said, literally, she said, "Your husband needs a kidney, right?" And she said, "He needs to call this guy." So I got my wife home and prepped and let her lay down after surgery, and she had a successful gallbladder surgery, thank God. But I was apprehensive, I was thinking, I don't know about asking this guy, I don't know anything about him, I don't know why I would want to call him. But I went ahead and called him, and I had a true story. I told my wife, I said, "Listen, if you don't hear anything about 30 minutes later, please go ahead and call the police, because I'm not sure who this guy is." I had no idea who Kent was. And so anyway, I met Kent at a local Denny's, and we sat and talked, and I knew after about 2 minutes, Uncle Jim, that this was like a divine connection for me. Like, this was meant to be. This was fate for me. Kent, he just come off like a really amazing advocate that cared about me, cared about my situation, wanted to help me out. And here's the kicker: he said everything's absolutely free. You'll never get a bill from me. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He says, I want to help you, and I want to help you, and it's free. And I'm like, okay, wow, this is huge, because at the time, when you're going through kidney failure, of course, it's a traumatic, uh, it's a traumatic deal. And when someone's telling you this type of stuff, it's a huge relief for you that they're going to help you for free. It's a big help. And so from there, Kent just began to mentor me and call me and invited me to the support group meetings, which were huge as well. And I believe that's kind of where me and you connected, was through Ken and the Kidney Solutions and the support groups. So, those type of things were huge for me. Yeah, Kidney Solutions. But those kind of things were so influential at the time for me, because I was so green to kidney disease, and so uneducated, and I needed some really strong mentorship. And I found it. I found it with you guys and the support groups, and Kent. And like I said, he taught me. He taught me how to advocate for myself, and hang my flyers, and really continue to stay positive and have that mindset of it's not if you're going to get a kidney, it's when. It's going to happen. And I can't thank Kent enough. I could sit here and talk about Kent for another hour. So Kent he's a great man. And Kidney Solutions is a great organization. And again, everything is free. If if anybody out there is interested about kidney solutions, please look us up at kidneysolutions.org. Definitely check it out.
The other thing that we should mention about Kent and Kidney Solutions is that a lot of groups, after you get your transplant, they kind of disappear. Mr. Kent will continue to follow up with you, and Kidney Solutions will continue to follow up with you after you get your transplant. If you have challenges or issues, he'll help you out with those. Yeah. He'll answer questions. He used to be a nurse. He's very intelligent. So it's not just before and during. There's a relationship after too.
Yeah, he told me a long time ago, you'll have to fire me. And I haven't fired him yet.
So. Okay. Now, you mentioned that social media played a role in helping you get your transplant. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the family that direct donated to me, because that's how I got my kidney so fast. As you know, I'm O blood type. A lot of people wonder, how I end up getting transplanted so fast, because O blood type being the most common blood type, and they pair and match with other blood types. So as soon as one comes available, they're gone. But I was posting my story a lot on social media and Facebook in particular. And this family that I had grown up with, and we went to church together. I'd grown up with them. They had a family member that experienced an unfortunate event, and he ended up passing away. And and they knew that I needed a kidney, but because I was posting my story on social media, because we didn't call or talk to each other, but we were still connected, and we still liked each other. It's just we kind of lost touch a little bit because we had moved from Kentucky to Texas. And we hadn't been communicating, but they knew us from social media, and they kept in touch with us through social media. And because I was sharing my story, they knew that I needed a kidney. And out of the blue, when this unfortunate event happened, they decided and joined as a family and said, "Hey, he's a registered donor, and we would like to donate one of his kidneys to you." And that, when they called for that, I remember the phone call. They called me and said that they said, our family member is passing away, and we want to offer you his kidney. And I was blown away, literally. And Kent warned me of this, because he kept grilling me and telling me, it's going to come at a time you're not thinking. It's going to come at a time that you're going to be going to Walmart, or you're going to be going wherever you need to go, going to the doctor, whatever. I'm telling you, that phone call is going to come. And sure enough, that phone call came. I wasn't prepared. It just wasn't prepared for it. And I definitely wasn't prepared to hear that this family member had passed away. But I knew I needed a kidney, and luckily I was blessed enough to have mentors in my life like Kent, and I believe I even consulted with you. I called some other people as well, but ultimately my wife, she told me, she said, "Jonathan, this unfortunate event has happened, but this has been offered to you, and I really feel like that this is God telling you, you need to take this kidney. And I don't feel like that it would come your way if it wasn't meant to be." And that's literally how it happened. I mean, I ended up accepting that kidney, and it was considered a high risk kidney because of the situation. But I was okay with that, and I was aware of it, and I didn't feel forced to take it, but I felt like it was offered to me, and that it was the right kidney for me, and it was the right thing. And I felt in my heart it was the right decision to take it. And here I am, almost 2 years post, and I'm doing really well. But I'm very grateful. I'm a very blessed individual, Uncle Jim.
Okay, let's talk about your kidney transplant on August 11th, 2020. Tell us what happened, how it came about, how you felt. Were there issues or challenges?
There was a lot of issues. Number one, we were still in the height of COVID, in August of 2020. So my wife, I had to leave her at the front of the hospital. Um, she wasn't allowed to come in, so that was tough. I remember when they called and they said, "Hey," and it was about 11 o'clock at night. And this was the Methodist, the transplant center, asking me if I was aware of the kidney, and they had already called me, not the Methodist, but the family. And so I kind of knew that the transplant center was probably going to be calling any time. And of course, it was around 11 o'clock at night. And they said, "Hey, you got to be here at like 6 in the morning." And I was like, "Okay." And so, which I was excited. So I didn't sleep much. And then we rushed there at like 5 in the morning to be at San Antonio by 6. And when we got there, of course, they hit us with, because of COVID and everything, your wife cannot come back with you. You got to leave her right here. And so that was kind of an issue. It was a little tough to go in there all by myself, but um, I went ahead and did it. I had to. I had to be tough and go in there and have this surgery by myself. We were able to communicate by phone and things like that, but it was a little bit tough, leaving your loved one behind and not having her there with you, but she was a trooper, and she stayed in the parking lot until she finally got to come into a waiting area for me. They did finally allow that, but so that was one obstacle. But um, and then the kidney actually was late coming. My first surgery, I think, was supposed to be around maybe 1 o'clock or so, and they had came in the room. They had me all prepped and ready to go, and then they come in and said, "Well, the kidney's late because, mind you, I was direct donated, so it was coming from another state, state of Kentucky." So something happened. I don't know what mishap it was, but that kidney didn't make the flight, and so they pushed it to, what was it, 7 o'clock. So I ended up having the surgery later on in the day. So that was another little hang up. But long story short, it happened. One memory I'll share with you, and then I'll let you ask your next question. But I still remember them wheeling me into the OR, and I look back there and I can see the nephrologist. He's all garbed up, but he's working. He's working on that kidney or something. He's doing something. I don't know what he was doing, but I knew then, Uncle Jim, it was something was fixing to happen for me. I knew something was, it was about to happen. So I don't remember too much after that because they told me to count backwards from like 10 to 1, and I think I got to like 8, and then I just remember that was it. Now from there I woke up in the ICU. Of course, they put you there for like one night, and but that's pretty much all the memories that I have. I mean, I have a few others. I remember waking up in the ICU from the kidney transplant, but it's pretty standard. I mean, they get you up and try to get you walking really quickly and things like that. Um, but it was definitely an experience, something that you'll never forget.
Yeah. Talk to us post transplant about the changes that you have made in your diet, your exercise, taking care of yourself. I mean, you've made some pretty big changes.
Well, I still exercise pretty regularly. I have put on a few pounds, but I'm not. When I came home, I had lost so much weight that the doctors and stuff kind of felt like I had actually gotten too thin. So they felt like I needed to put on a little bit of weight. They actually encouraged me to eat because they could kind of tell that my labs still weren't looking right. So they wanted me to start eating. They actually told Melissa to take me to like a place and get a chocolate shake. They were like, he's got to get some phosphorus in him, and because my phosphorus was incredibly low. after I left the hospital. So they were like, yeah, take him to a fast food place and just get him a chocolate shake or something because his phosphorus is dangerously low. Like we got to get it back up. So, I remember she came home and she's like, what do you want to eat? And I've said, you know what, just make me like the biggest peanut butter and jelly sandwich that she can make. And so like she brought me this peanut butter and jelly and I remember enjoying that. That was like my celebratory meal was like the shake and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But that those type of things are just treats now. Those aren't like everyday meals, and I don't do those on the regular. But I enjoy exercising now, Uncle Jim. It's become a way of life, and I enjoy eating like grilled chicken and salads, and these are things that I didn't eat before. Like I ate a lot of, like I said, a lot of cheeseburgers, pizzas, just a lot of junk food, and my routine has changed so much with my exercise routine. I mean, I'm in the gym at least 4 to 5 times a week, and I'm exercising. If I'm not in the gym, I'm walking, and I'm now at the place now where I'm actually working and back to doing some work. So a lot has changed in the 2 years of post transplant, and then a lot has changed from going on three years from when I experienced emergency near death experience with kidney failure.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your kidney advocacy at this point in time and your desire to give back to your fellow kidney patients. You do a lot of podcasting, broadcasting with Hope with Jonathan. What platforms are you on, and how often are you doing it? What are your challenges?
Well, hope for Jonathan became Hope with Jonathan because what happened was I had gotten a kidney, so I realized that my page no longer needed to be Hope for Jonathan. I felt like I needed to have a new name, so I decided to change it Hope with Jonathan. And I'd been on some other podcasts. I was actually on Kent's Kidney Stories podcast, and then I'd done the show with you. I had done a show with the Urban Network with Steve and Jared Brown, and I loved it. Like I like what, I love this podcasting stuff, and I thought what, I think I'd be good at it, maybe decent at it. I don't know, and so I tried it out, and at first I'll be honest with you, I still feel like I'm a work in progress, but it took me a long time to learn how to do the podcasting and learn how to learn it all, and at first, Uncle Jim, I kind of felt like that I wanted to beat kidney disease all by myself and be this superhero kidney advocacy guy because I wanted to be a part and really help, and I felt like I was going to do a show like every other day, and at first I was doing like 2 shows a week, but that was just incredibly. I mean, people have no idea what goes into these shows behind the scene. I mean, you're landing your guests and you're writing the questions and then you're marketing the show, and it's a lot. It really is. And so when you're doing 2 to 3 shows a week, it's a lot. So now I have the mindset of trying to do at least 1 show a week, and it doesn't always work out. I mean, guests sometimes they cancel on you, or they things come up. You can't always land a guest, or maybe you have something personal going on that you can't do the show, and so now it's more like a one day a week show. But our main goal is to create awareness for not only kidney disease but organ donation, and try to speak to the hearts and let the patient's story speak to the hearts of those out there that are willing to listen to their story and possibly want to step up and test and be their donor. I feel like there's strength and power in sharing your journey, and that others feed off of that. and they gain so much. I mean, we gain so much from other people's stories. And I know people out there listen to my story think that maybe I've been through a lot, but I've interviewed some incredible people that have been through so much more than what I've ever experienced. And so for me, I learn a lot from the people that want to come on and share their story. Like I said, I've interviewed some people that have been through so much, and like I said, I've gained so much just from listening to their story. So as I'm podcasting with them, I'm actually listening to their story and learning as well. But our main goal is to share stories of hope, and we say we're sharing stories of hope because we believe that by sharing your story, you're encouraging other people to want to continue in a journey. And I've had a lot of patients on that have been through a lot and overcome a lot. So I've had a lot of kidney transplant recipients on my show, and they've wanted to share their incredible story. And but you know, our main goal is, like I said, is to share stories of hope and bring awareness to kidney disease, but not only kidney disease, but organ donation as well.
Okay. I see you on places like Facebook groups, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok. So social media wise, you're all over the place.
Yeah, I am. Well, I just feel like that we have to be relevant. So whatever is trending, we should be there. And the reason why I think that's important is because if we quit talking about kidney disease, then people aren't going to know about it, and it could possibly slip out of people's minds. So I think it's important to be relevant, and I think it's important to be a part of anything and everything that the world's a part of, especially if it's a trendy thing. So, TikTok right now, TikTok is a huge platform, and it's a great way for people to share their story. And what I found surprising was there's patients on there that are actually showing their kidney journey on dialysis. They're on dialysis machines, and they're right there recording themselves, and they're talking about their journey. And I think it's awesome. I think it's a great way for people to share their story, and it's a great platform. Is there negatives about each platform? Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in Facebook jail, or I've been hacked, or I've been whatever. But uh, I have an opinion about that, Uncle Jim, but I won't share it here.
Well,
About Facebook jail.
your Uncle Jim always thought that if you're not in Facebook jail every once in a while, you aren't doing your job. So,
Absolutely. But I think it's important to stay relevant, Uncle Jim, especially when you're talking about chronic illness like kidney disease. I think we have to continue talking about it. I think it needs to be in the limelight because, as you know, we're not on TV every day, or we're not. Commercials aren't flying through every day about kidney disease. So we use the platforms that we can and continue to talk about it so that people know about it, because it's important, especially when you've experienced something like in my case, my story. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. It was a scary, traumatic event. I survived it. Um, and so I utilize my story now to try to help others so that they won't ever experience that. And I think it's important that we stay relevant and share our story through each one of these platforms as much as we can.
okay. Question from the audience and a couple of comments.
Sure.
How have you maintained such a positive attitude over this period of time since you were diagnosed up till today? What do you attribute to that?
I would contribute to, number one, my faith. Like I said, I'm a faith believer, first of all. So I've had a lot of people and faith and prayers of family members. I have a huge support around me. So I'm from a large family of people that are faith believers. So they show me incredible support. My immediate family, my wife, my children, are huge supporters. That right there alone is a driving force. And then the people that have came into my life like a domino effect in the kidney community, the people that support me and support my podcast have been huge. Once I announced that I was a part of the kidney community embraced me much like a family. And I really feel like that we're just a large family connected by kidney disease. And I've had some great mentorship. Like again, I mean, I'm going to mention him again, Kim Bressler, Jim Myers, just some amazing people that have came my way. And I mean, I can't help when you have that much good coming your way and positivity and mentorship and people feeding into you like that. You can't help but be positive. Do I have some days that I want to punch somebody or punch the wall or scream out and yell? Absolutely. I'm not perfect. I mean, I have bad days too, but when I overlook my day and my life and everything that I've overcome, the good outweighs the bad for sure. So that's how I keep a
Okay.
positive mindset.
Excellent. Talk to us about some of the major national advocacy groups that you work with. What are some of the groups that you hang out with?
Absolutely. I mean, not only Kidney Solutions, but eventually I got involved with advocacy with AAKP, American Association of Kidney Patients. I believe they're a huge part of kidney advocacy, kidney disease awareness. Um, if you're a kidney patient and you're not a part of the AAKP, you should definitely look into getting involved with them. I love the AAKP. I love everything that they do. They have just been incredible, and I feel like they do great things for the kidney community. Another group that I got involved with was the American Kidney Fund. The American Kidney Fund showed me a lot of support. Financially, they helped me. My social worker helped me get that signed up whenever I needed it. And they stepped up and helped me in the time that I needed them. And so, they did that for around a year. And during that time, I got involved with them with their walks. And I contributed during that time while I was on dialysis and looking for a kidney and searching for a kidney donor. I would get involved with them and give back through their walks. And I've continued to do that over the last 3 years. And so I really enjoy working with the American Kidney Fund. And that's the reason why that I work with them, is because they help me so much. And then I also do work with the National Kidney Foundation as well. And I enjoy working with them mainly because of their stance with the political things and the type of things of bills through the House and Senate that we try to get passed. And I've actually got to speak with local representatives here in the state of Texas, and along with Kent and many other great advocates, and tell my story to try to get the immunosuppressant bill passed and the Living Donor Act passed, and all these different acts that are very beneficial for the kidney community. And it's been an honor to be able to do that, and it's been incredible. I know a lot of people try to focus on one organization, but because of the way that each one is kind of played a part, I felt like I had a connection with all three. So I work with all three of them.
Okay, well, you know what your Uncle Jim always says: the more organizations, the more you're in front of your member of Congress, the more better. So I'm proud of you, John.
I appreciate that, Uncle Jim.
Talk to us about this beautiful graphic and internet work that you do. I see these things that you post to help promote Kidney Solutions. As an example, the graphic work that people see at the end of the broadcast from Kidney Solutions, those are all yours. I mean, talk to us about your graphic work. I mean, great stuff, John.
Well, thanks, Uncle Jim. I'm humbled by that, really. I I just kind of have I don't know. It's like it's a natural gift, I guess. I just I've done it now for a couple of years, and I've gotten comfortable with working with the different software. I will tell you, Canva will make any novice look like a Picasso, literally. I mean, so I can't take all the credit because Canva really is very helpful. All you got to do is know how to work the software and really know how to match colors and things like that, and you can really make some really great presentations if you kind of master it. And but I kind of feel like it's a gift. It's just a gift from God, and I'm blessed to be able to help and make these type of things. And it's a great way to advocate, and it's actually fun. I actually enjoy making these. So I think if you love something and you want to do something great, you'll figure out a way to continue to get better at it. So but it takes time. I mean, this didn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been doing this now for a couple of years. So I'm just now getting to a point where I actually feel comfortable with working with these different types of software. But I do appreciate the compliments, Uncle Jim.
Well, it's great stuff. I steal it all the time. So least I could do is say thank you.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about any future projects that you could disclose that you're working on.
Um, right now, we just want to continue to grow and make the podcast as best as we can. Again, this is not to become like uber famous and make $1 million off of it. It's not about that at all. It's just we want to try to make our podcast as the best we can, so that we get eyes on our podcast. Listen, if we're doing these podcasts for ourselves, we might as well be standing in front of the mirror and talking to ourselves. We're trying to we're trying we're trying to get it out there, right? So we want it to be quality work. We want people to listen to them, especially when patients are desperate and they're looking for a donor, literally. We want people to be able to watch these podcasts and enjoy them. So any way that I can evolve and gain exposure and get better, that's what I'm trying to do right now with the podcast. I am pushing my platform on YouTube quite a bit. YouTube is a great platform. And like you mentioned before, I'm pushing TikTok because of the views that they get. So I just think it's a great way for us to be able to get people's stories out there. It's a great catalyst. It's a great platform to just push out and get out there. I mean, you're talking about millions of viewers that use YouTube every day. TikTok, same way, and all other social media platforms as well. I mean, you have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, there's millions of people on those too. But right now, YouTube and TikTok. Those are huge platforms, and it's just a great way to share people's stories and share your story and advocate.
Okay. Last question. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss tonight before we close the conversation? Did your Uncle Jim forget anything that you think is important that you want to tell the folks?
No, I think we've covered it all. You did an excellent job, Uncle Jim. I want to say one thing about you, Uncle Jim. You've been a great mentor to me as well, and so I want to personally thank you again on this podcast. And I think you do an excellent job on these podcasts. Over the last couple of years, I've watched many of them, and I just want to give you a pat on the back and tell you how you're a great advocate and highly revered amongst your peers. And I just think that I hope you just continue to be a great advocate. I know you will. I know you will.
Well, I have so many great examples around, like you and Kent, Armand Halter, just to name a few off the top of my head real quick. So, any rate, John, I thank you so much for coming on and
Can I put in?
talking to us. What a terrific kidney story we put out there tonight, and I hope we raise some awareness and help to educate some
Sure.
folks. And when is your next podcast so people check it out?
I haven't really scheduled one yet. So, but look for one on Tuesdays. I have them on Tuesday nights, usually around 6 Central. So if you're interested at all, you can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can, or you can hit me at my website, hopewithjonathan.com. There's many ways that you can hit me up. There's an email address. There's my actual personal phone numbers on there. So, you can actually call or text. And, you want to get a hold of me, get on the show. It's an honor to share people's stories. So if people want to come on, all you got to do is get into contact with me. So I want to do a quick little shameless plug for Kidney Solutions, if you don't mind, Kent.
No.
Or, Jim, I'm sorry. I just want to say, if you're maybe like you're recently diagnosed, or maybe you're going through something right now with, regarding kidney disease, if you're looking for support, definitely check us out, kidneysolutions.org. Like I said, Monday night, we have a support group. It starts at 6 p.m. Central. Uncle Jim's there. We just had a great presentation. Dr. Axelrod, I believe, who's a great, he's a nephrologist, or he's a transplant surgeon. You correct me, Uncle Jim.
I think he's a transplant nephrologist, but that's okay.
Transplant nephrologist, yeah. Anyway, we do things like that where we have special people come in and speak. You can interact and meet make new friends, other kidney patients on there that, they come in and talk. It's a great time. We meet by Zoom, if you're wondering how we meet. And message us or get in contact with us. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out at kidneysolution.org, or you can call Kent 830-285-2140. And we would love to, help you out and get you involved with our support group. And if you're in need of a kidney and you would like to advocate on the website, they'll put you up on their website, send you out some flyers, and Kent will personally, talk with you, mentor you, and help you learn how to advocate for yourself, and get you out there in your local community, putting out your flyers and talking with different ones about wanting to be possibly gaining some potential to test to be a donor. We also have resources for people that maybe you want to talk to someone that has been a donor. You can actually reach out to us and talk with us too about that. And we have people that you can talk to and ask questions. And these are people that have actually been living kidney donors that will share their story with you. And I appreciate you, Uncle Jim, for letting me take the time to mention that about Kidney Solutions.
Wow. John, what a great broadcast. I had so much fun. I wish I could go on forever.
I know.
But I'm going to let you go. I got to talk to the folks a little bit about what's coming up, and then I got to start sharing the replay so we get some people that get a chance to view it. But I thank you very much for coming on. I hope that someday I can have you back and we can talk a little bit more about what's going on with Jonathan Traylor and his kidney advocacy. And thank you so much again, John.
Absolutely.
Much appreciated, my friend.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be on here. Thanks again for the opportunity.
No worries. I'm going to go ahead and excuse you now, and you're free to go. And I got to talk, like I said, I got to talk to the folks about what's coming up. So
absolutely.
Have a good night, John.
You too.
All right, buddy. All right. So that's our show for tonight. July 8th, next Friday, Dr. Jamie Cook is going to join us. We're going to talk about xenotransplants, pig transplants, and what's going on with that. She's been doing a lot of work with that at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. On the 15th of July, we're talking to Alex Barrios, great kidney advocate, had a kidney transplant, recently returned back to dialysis, needs a new kidney transplant. So we're going to be talking to Alex about his journey. Audrey Bella Langston, who checked in with us tonight. Thank you, Audrey. She's going to be on the 29th. We're going to talk about her kidney journey and her kidney advocacy. So those are just a few of the things coming up. I'm booking in September and October right now to give you some idea of where we're at. So lots and lots of interesting things, lots of medical people coming up. You don't want to miss out. So any rate, a couple of quick looks at some of Jonathan's work. There's the support group that he mentioned. Our sponsor, Kidney Advocacy, or Kidney Solutions, I'm sorry. So thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next week.